This is the MSU4People podcast dealing with problems we find at state. This is our first episode, and we're going to be discussing paying student athletes and the Final Four. I'm the host. And my name is Jacob Cole. I'm with Jared Nefsey,
What's up?
Isaac Oswald,
Hey.
and Zach Carless.
Hello.
Speaking of student athletes, our very own basketball team is in the Final Four and is going to be facing Texas Tech.
Texas Tech is trash. All right, listen up. I have a cousin who's going to Texas Tech. He hasn't even gone there yet. He's going there next year. He's going to be a freshman. After they got in and MSU got in, he already starts talking trash, telling me how Texas Tech is going to wreck them because that's their slogan. And I was like, come on, buddy. It's the Big 12 versus the Big 10. This is basketball. MSU's about to show you guys what's up.
What I've seen so far from Texas Tech is they have a really good defense. They locked down Michigan. What was it, like 0 for 20 from the three-point line, and then they made like some last-minute three-point attempt that
Only got
didn't really
44
matter.
points.
Yeah, but we are talking about Michigan here, you know.
We beat them 3 times.
Yeah,
so
very slow. I mean, that was kind of it was an interesting game because Michigan's super slow tempoed offense, you know, don't get a ton of possessions during a game, pretty slow with the ball versus that defense. So they were just Michigan taking their time normally how they would, and they would normally get a good shot, but they couldn't do anything because Texas Tech would be locking them down the whole time. And they break a NCAA record for worst shooting in like the whole tournament. They went 1 for 27, I think.
Okay, so let's get off this Michigan topic because that's just gross, and let's go back to state. Who do you guys think is gonna do really well for state coming up in Texas Tech against Texas Tech?
I got the big guys doing pretty well because I was just looking at some analytics of Texas Tech, and one of their downfalls is actually their work on the glass. And we obviously got some really good bigs on our team. We got Tillman, we got Ward, and we got Goins. And I think if they step up, we'll do really well defensively, and we'll just get all the rebounds we need to get some points back on the
And obviously, you know, with Cassius Winston, Big Ten Player of the Year, he's just, you know, so consistent. He always does well. So I'm sure he's like, you know, the best point guard, I would say, in college basketball right now. So I'm sure he'll lead our team to, you know, victory and to do whatever he needs to do. So.
Yeah.
And as long as Goins makes some threes, it'll be good.
I mean, Cassius Winston is just unstoppable, and you just have so many dynamics on that team. I mean, quiet Aaron Henry had a great game that helped us beat LSU, dropped 20 points, had some assists and some rebounds on the board. We just have such a good point guard in Cassius Winston. He's able to pretty much involve anyone that's having a good game and get them the ball while also putting in the 20 we need to get ahead.
Okay, so now since we are MSU4People, I want to bring this to a more serious topic of paying student athletes. And I want to just use this example of a guy named Kyle Hardrick. He was a commit to Oklahoma since he was 14, and he got injured, and the college basically just removed his scholarship after that. I honestly do not think this is right, and this is one of the reasons why I think student athletes should be paid. There's like fewer than 2% of student athletes that actually do make it professional, and there's over 460,000 of them, like worldwide, I guess. I think like some of these like bigger games, some of these top schools, they bring in so much money. Like out of all the 231 D1 schools, they make an average of 39.6 million in revenue per year.
Yeah, just a huge sum of cash that you know has got to be going somewhere in the hands of executives in the NCAA.
Mm-hmm. At the same time, though, I mean, you said this kid was 14 years old and he got injured before he, you know, even had a chance to make it to the big screen, play in the big games where he could be drawing in all this money from the media. So I understand that, you know, he got injured, and I don't think it's right that they took away his scholarship. I don't know if it's necessarily right as well to pay him before he even made a chance or had a chance, you know, to make it into these big games.
That's a really good point, but I do want to bring up that like some of these top schools, like Oklahoma is usually a top school in basketball every once in a while, that when like these top teams are playing, the average like worth of a basketball player is around 1.5 million, like that they make as like individually, like how much they bring to the program. And I think that's just like a huge amount. And like, yes, they took away a scholarship. I think these kind of rights should be kind of protected for student athletes. Even if they do get injured, they should get at least their scholarship. Like these, like I said before, these universities, they bring in around like an average of 39.6 million a year. You can't tell me just because a guy got injured, you're gonna remove him from the team and take away from the profit, or like just add on to your profits while you just cut somebody who's been dedicated to your program.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, there's always the argument that, players are getting paid with a full ride tuition, which, I mean, in some cases, I would say, for example, like lesser players that maybe aren't shining stars, don't really have a chance to like go to the next level. I would say for tuition's normally like 20 grand a year, like free college for them with all their tutors and all that travel, like for those smaller players, I think that is, kind of fair. But I would say, for example, like a player like Zion Williamson, who's already worth millions of dollars, playing basketball at Duke, blows out a shoe in that incident, scary injury. Quite possibly, if that ended his career, he would have no money. He wouldn't be able to do anything. I mean, that's partially because of the one rule that you have to play in college, but also if that happened to like maybe a senior or something who is going to go to the NBA next year, he does that, career-ending injury maybe, loses all that money. I would say that's not fair. So, I mean, it's a good argument. One question that I had, how would the NCAA and colleges decide how much money players will get and how to make it fair to like all athletes? So, for example, how will it be decided like how much a runner makes, puts in the same time, does the same stuff, but doesn't have a lot of fans? Like how much will he make, he or she, compared to like a football star who has thousands of people going to the game, bringing in revenue to see him? How do you think that the NCAA colleges will like decipher how much they get paid and try to make that like fair?
That was a really good question. I think that this is going to have to do a lot with the revenues, like you said though, but for the smaller players, like how they might just not be like they're practicing, but people might not be showing up for them. I think there should be at least a minimum amount depending on the sport. It's definitely going to have to deal with revenues and like a lot of math that I won't be able to tell you right now. But I think that's going to be a big part on like if they do it, it's going to have to be either minimums for like certain players get, and then the bigger players, since they bring in higher crowds, like it could be off jersey sales, the ticket prices based on like the hype of the game, something around there. It could be good and help these players like get the money that they deserve. Like how you mentioned Zion getting injured, if he was to fall in the draft, and I'm not saying he will, he'll probably be the first pick, no doubt, but if he was to fall from like 1 to 4, he would have probably lost at least $6 million, because I think the first year in the NBA rookie contract is a 4-year and I think $9 million a year, compared to like a fourth pick who gets around like $4 million, I think. It's a huge drop off, and like these can cost the athletes, and I think they should at least be paid for the risk that they are putting on the line for their college.
Yeah, if anything, I just think it's ridiculous that the athletes don't get paid some sort of royalty for jersey sales. Because, I mean, it's jerseys with their name on their back. How are they not getting anything for that?
That's true.
So hypothetically, in your ideal world, Jacob, would you like create a standardized, almost like minimum wage type pay for all college athletes, then on top of that add royalties based on jersey sales and admission tickets for specific athletes that have more media coverage than others?
That's what I would like to see, but I think the minimum wage would have to depend on the sports. Like you said, a track team was not going to bring as much as the basketball team, and like March Madness alone can bring in $761 million, and that was in 2017 alone. But you might see like a track event, I don't know how much they bring in, probably thousands of dollars. So there's definitely got to be like a minimum somewhere just to make it like reasonable and actually like happen. But
Yeah, just reasonably fair
Yeah.
across the board for all the sports. Because I mean, obviously different sports programs will get different amounts of revenue, so naturally the players will probably get more money because of that. But it does sound completely fair to give a flat rate to all the athletes, I think.
Do you think there'd be like almost a tipping point where if an athlete begins to make too much money off these jersey sales and admission tickets, that some of their scholarship money could be taken away? Or do you think they should keep the full ride no matter what?
I think they definitely deserve the full ride because it is only, I think it's the average like D1 scholarship per year is worth about $25,000. Like I definitely think they should keep it. They earned it. They got there. But going like with gaining a lot of money, like if you look like some of these basketball players, they could potentially make like $1 million a year. Like if you look at NBA minimums though, they're about 3.4 million. So what's going to stop a guy from making 1 million to 3 million? Just hop into the league, get that money, get paid. Like I think they should at least, the reason to bring in this paying is also to keep them at college, because if you like look at make it, at least help them like become like smarter with their money. If you looked at like some of the NBA players, most of them will go broke 5 years after leaving the league just because they'll put it into some high risk investment and it's just gone. I think college will definitely like help them keep and like actually earn more money overall. So like I think it's good to keep them in college, but they should get paid, or I don't really see an incentive for them to actually stay if they can make these big bucks.
So like you're saying, like being in college could maybe, when they're earning money, it could help them kind of like build a foundation on how to use their money and like secure ways to like learn how to spend their money to like save it and not go broke later on in their career.
Exactly. Like most of these guys who go to college, they're just gonna, for basketball, like these top name peoples, they're gonna be one and dones. If you look like Ben Simmons, he like didn't even show up to half of his classes. Like he just wanted to get to the league. But if the like college actually paid him, he would have probably been more inclined to stay, do academics, and actually like learn more. I'm not saying like he's gonna blow all his money, but it's a possibility since he did not go through the college. Like it's probably a higher possibility overall.
Okay. I just have one more hypothetical question that I think paying college athletes a problem that can rise. So obviously I love college athletics more than professional sometimes. Do you think that for programs who have a ton of money from like generating, from winning, do you think that they would be able to use like salary as an incentive for someone to play for them? So like use it for recruiting? Because I feel like if say Kentucky, huge basketball school, was eyeing a prospect in high school, and so was maybe a more middle of the road Purdue team who's also very good, like if Kentucky was sick, we can give you this much more money if you played for us, like it wouldn't even be a question for that high school athlete. And I feel like that would kind of turn college athletics into professional, where it's like just a money game.
That is a very fair point, and that is kind of going to be a problem probably with this if they do go this route. But I do think like with the minimums, like they'll still keep like the low end player, like the not stars, they'll probably still be the same. But when it comes to these bigger schools, they've had that winning culture, so like I guess that's like incentives to go there, and it what makes them earn this money. But then you've got like again Ben Simmons, who goes to LSU, which was not big in basketball before this year. He kind of helped build that program, and he probably could possibly earn even more revenue because he's the one star bringing in it all to that college. So depending like where they go, it could be a gamble.
Yeah. So it kind of just depends on the player to see if they actually do shine in the NCAA and bring in that revenue.
Yeah.
One thing I just quick wanted to talk about was maybe giving a little salary to players could give them more incentive to play even harder, because if you base their salaries based on like how well they do or how much revenue they bring in for the sport, then that would prompt them to want to play harder because they bring in more money. and then that would probably just lead to better games and just better playing overall.
That is very good, and I do like that. And it's probably time to start wrapping this up. But with this podcast, we are going to be continuing in our next episode on sexual assault, and the host will be Jared coming up. So stick around and enjoy.